Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Artsbeat TV and Radio here on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer, and we're going to take a very quick trip up to the Berkshires, where spring is just about to arrive, which means that it's time for the Bard and Shakespeare and Company's 2022 season. With us is Jaclyn Stevenson, who's the PR director at Shakespeare and Company, and April is a birthday month for Shakespeare. So, Jack, what do you have on tap coming up this summer that celebrates the Bard?
Good morning. Can you hear me okay, Mark?
I can hear you just fine.
Fantastic. I wanted to make sure it's been one of those tech mornings. So yeah, we're really excited. We have our full season announced and ready to go. That includes what we're calling our classic titles this year, because that includes 2 Shakespeares and 1 non-Shakespeare. And we've just rounded out the season by announcing our modern titles, which is a great run of 4 different contemporary titles, as well as a festival in July of new works, readings and workshops. So it's going to be a really full season. To better answer your question, Shakespeare, our 2 big Shakespeare productions will be Much Ado About Nothing, which is going to be staged on our brand new Spruce Theater Amphitheater. It's a 500-seat outdoor amphitheater. Lends itself perfectly to Much Ado About Nothing because it literally is flanked by these beautiful tall spruce trees. And in the Tina Packer Playhouse, we are producing Measure for Measure, which some people call a comedy, some people call one of Shakespeare's quote unquote problem plays because it's hard to fit into a comedy or a tragedy or a history. But I can tell you it's a very timely play to what we are seeing in our world today.
And the modern plays that you've chosen are really they run an interesting gamut of contemporary plays, some titles which may be known to people, but others are brand new. So how do you balance out the classics with the contemporary? Is there a theme for the season, or are you just picking the best plays that are out there?
Well, there are a few things that go into it. Our season theme this year, it's our 45th year, 45th season, which, as you might know, in the traditional energy gift world is a sapphire. So we are referring to this as our sapphire season. And we have picked the tagline "Sigh No More," which is borrowed from the song from Much Ado About Nothing. The full line, "Sigh no more, 1 foot in sea, 1 on the shore," which really illustrates, again, the world that we're living in right now, where we are slowly emerging from some very dark times, but we're not quite out of them yet. So we are moving forward with great optimism. And when it comes to the modern plays, the titles that have been chosen, there's always an eye toward introducing titles and productions written and or directed or both by the members of the global majority. So that's something that we focus on with every choice, every season, to ensure that we are doing what we can to make connections. In addition, we have new titles that are brand new to the world. The Approach, which is starting our season early this year, May 6th, by Marco Rowe, it debuted just a year ago as a streaming production. It's going to be really interesting to do this as a full staged production in front of live audiences, and we're also going to have a streaming component to that as well. People will have the opportunity to watch a live stream at one point and also access that stream a little bit later in the season.
And we should probably just interrupt.
Something that's very...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just want to interrupt as we're talking about all these plays and everything at Shakespeare and Company. If you want to order tickets while we're chatting, their website is shakespeare.org. So follow along and you'll learn more about each play that's on the schedule. Sorry to interrupt there, but I realize we're going through so much material and people may say, hey, where do I find out more?
No, that was an excellent interruption. interruption, and Mark knows me and knows that I can get off on a tangent. So you can always stop me when it's something important for that. Yeah, Shakespeare.org to buy all our tickets right there online. And if you buy them online, you will avoid that pesky maintenance fee. So that's always another good reason to go and buy your tickets online from us. Yeah, just to continue with some of our modern titles, there's something very interesting here in July. We will be producing A Walk in the Woods by Lee Blessing, which will be in the Roman Garden Theater, our slightly smaller outdoor venue. And this is the story of two negotiators, one Russian and one American, who are meeting during the height of the Cold War in the 90s. And they're meeting in, a secluded area to go over, to literally try to forge peace between the two of them, these two men in the quiet forest of Geneva. So it's a very interesting setting. And you can't not see the parallel with what's happening in our world right now. And our artistic director, Alan Burrows, actually chose that title some time ago. So it's an interesting coincidence, if you will, that it's going to be, presented here and probably will spark a lot of interesting conversations, I would think. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I saw the play quite, I want to say maybe 25 years ago, or when it first came out. And it was either just around the time or just after the Berlin Wall had fallen, and people thought the Cold War was over. But it was one of the plays, as been watching television in the last month, it was one of the plays I thought about that really expresses the fact that the Cold War never really ended, and here it is in full tilt again. And this play speaks to that.
Yes, absolutely. It's a very pointed parallel, I would say, and it's an amazing play, amazing words, and the dialogue between these two characters is very jarring at times, but interesting and thought-provoking, as I said. And similarly, we have another July production called Him by Lolita Chakrabarty. And director Reggie Life will be returning to direct that. He's also, he's just wrapped something in March with us with our March Mashup Play Reading Festival. And this is actually, it's not a musical, but it's a very music-centered piece of theater, which is interesting. It has a lot of nods to the and of the 50s. And it's the story of two men who meet at a funeral, and they discover through discussion that they have a very important connection that they had not previously realized. So a little teaser on that one. And our final modern title that we've chosen is Golden Leaf Ragtime Blues, which also, as you might imagine, has a musical center, and is the story of an older Black man and a young Jewish boy who I've totally clipped that around, a young Black boy and a older Jewish man who found again some connections between the two of them they had not previously seen. And those join our three so-called classic titles: Much Ado, Measure for Measure, as I mentioned, and the third title, An Iliad, which is an adaptation of the Iliad using modern speech, contemporary speech.
Yeah, that's a tour de force. That's a solo performance that was done in Chester many years ago. It really is a tour de force for a good actor. So I'm looking forward to that. And of course, it's a great story.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think it runs a great gamut when it comes to the audiences who would enjoy this too. It's a very contemporary production. However, it's taking this very obvious cue from one of our most storied epic poems. So,
yeah.
There is a lot to
Yeah, one of
on
my
there.
recent guests was Mark Dold, who's the actor, who's a resident actor at Barrington Stage. And we had talked about the fact that the theater season in the Berkshires used to be really from the 4th of July, maybe, until Labor Day. And now it's expanded and expanded. And Shakespeare and Company now opens in May. How late does Shakespeare and Company go now during the course of the year?
We'll be running straight through the month of October. So it's a very formidable season. We're starting early, the first week in May, early in May, and Golden Leaf Ragtime Blues closes October 30th.
So the locals that want to get tickets and don't want to stand in line with the New Yorkers and the weekenders really get a good opportunity to see a lot of theater before the 4th of July and then after Labor Day.
Yes, absolutely. And that was some of these titles, some of these choices were made with that in mind. You think about what our audience makeup looks like after September. And it's, I think that's another thing that is added to the diversity of the programming this year. Well, we're really highlighting, if you will, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, one of the things that dawned on me as we're chatting is that many of the people at Shakespeare and Company come back year after year after year. So it is a company rather than going and casting a show in New York and having 4 actors here for a couple of weeks and moving on. So I know that you haven't announced casting yet. By and large, but some of the folks that are performing year in and year out have been at Shakespeare and Company for decades. And I think we have lost our connection with Jaclyn. So while she comes back to us, let's take a break and acknowledge our underwriters that make Artsbeat possible here on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Underwriting for community radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer this morning. We're chatting with Jaclyn Stevenson from Shakespeare and Company in Lenox, which, as we've been describing, you can go see classics by Shakespeare or some modern plays, and the season begins early in May as soon as the leaves are on the trees and hangs around until fall foliage season at the end of October. Jaclyn, I want to go back to A Walk in the Woods, which is one of the modern plays by Lee Blessing. It's being staged outdoors, so technically those 2 actors in that play are walking in the woods during the performance.
Yeah, it's really cool that that's happened a couple of different times here with the staging. Much Ado, as we mentioned, on the new Spruce, and the Roman Garden Theater is perfect for A Walk in the Woods because it's so reflective. The setting of the piece of the play is the outskirts of Geneva, and it's just perfect to have these flowering bushes around you, and also that dichotomy too. I love that of these very pointed conversations, politically pointed conversations happening in this very idyllic setting.
When you're somewhat new to Shakespeare and Company as an actual staffer, but you've been going to Shakespeare and Company for a long time. What attracted you when they said, come work with us? What attracted you to Shakespeare?
You know, I personally have always been a bit of a Shakespeare nerd, and I'm an English major. I have a degree in English, and I come from that side of the house, if you will, when it comes to being a Shakespeare fan. You know, I'm a lover of his poetry and his words, his effect on the English language. And he's been a constant in my life, just in little ways. You know, as a kid, one of my first stage productions that I went to see was Othello, oddly enough. I saw Romeo and Juliet in Portuguese while I was on study abroad in college. And seeing productions here has absolutely been an extension of that. One of my favorite poems or songs that Shakespeare wrote is the song from Cymbeline that begins, "Fear no more, the heat of the sun." And I was able to see that performed here, directed by Tina Packer a few years ago. And if you fast forward to today, the line "Fear no more, heat of the sun" is on the back of my business cards now. So it's been really great to, you know, have this sort of touch point continue to resurface. As you know, I worked at an ad agency that's no longer in business, that's not far from here too. So Shakespeare and Company is always, you know, it's been on my radar for a long time. I was very glad to see that the job popped up because it feels like a good fit. It's been 6 months now.
That's great. I can't wait to come out and visit you this summer on the campus at Shakespeare and Company. And regrettably, we're out of time. But before we go, let's let people know that if you want information on the Shakespeare and Company spring, summer, and fall seasons, which includes Shakespearean classics and modern plays and other kinds of events, they're all available online at shakespeare.org. And we're going to take a break. And I want to thank Jaclyn Stevenson from Shakespeare and Company. I can't wait to see you during the summer.
Thank you. I can't wait to see you in person, Mark.
Take care. We can take a break. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. You're listening to us on 89.5 FM WSKB or watching us on Westfield Community Programming Channel 15, and we'll be right back.
Underwriting is brought to you by Boise Cascade Distribution, providing products and services needed for building material dealers, home improvement centers, and industrial customers. They offer everything from engineered wood and plywood to Drex decking and railing, James Hardie siding, and Advantech subfloor. Located at 33 Fowler Street Extension in Westfield and on the web at bc.com, they are committed to providing quality products, great service, convenience, and value.
Support for community radio on WSKB provided by Westfield Electroplating. Employing over 140 skilled platers, painters, and technicians, Westfield Electroplating was founded in 1946 and was the first company in the country to achieve National Aerospace and Defense Contractor Program accreditation, proudly maintaining that status for over a decade. Westfield Electroplating provides over 50 quality finishes to meet your corrosion, cosmetic, or performance needs. On the web at www.westfieldplating.com or 413-568-3716. Westfield Electroplating, putting the finishing touches on technology.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer this morning, and we get a chance to talk with Kristen Van Ginhoven from WAM Theater. And I realized that when we first started Artsbeat, a long time ago, Kristen was one of the first people I got to interview, and at the time, I think I described WAM Theater as an upstart young theater company on the rise here in Western Massachusetts. And as I look back now, WAM Theater has been around for well over a decade and has established itself not only in Western Massachusetts, but nationally as one of the most innovative theater companies going. And as this world changes and we look at new ways and new models of running nonprofit arts organizations, WAM Theater is a textbook case of how you can come up with an idea to do good theater and to serve the community at the same time and make it work. And Kristen is the co-founder and the brains behind making that happen. So it's not a young upstart theater, but it's a recently young upstart theater. And Kristen, it's always good to see you.
Oh, it's always good to see you. And thank you for that kind and generous introduction. Yeah, WAM is a 13-year-old. I have a teenager.
You have a teenage theater, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And now that the pandemic is sort of in the past, although not really, you're back to live performing this year.
We're hoping to perform live. Yeah, that's the intention alongside everyone else. We keep a close eye on the COVID regulations, and we continue to have audience safety and artist safety at the top of the list as the priority. So, we still have COVID regulations in place, and we are, things change so quickly. So we're keeping an eye on things. And, but yeah, we've announced our season. Our tickets are on sale for our readings, and folks are buying them, and we're preparing to go ahead live.
Yeah, I mean, WAM never closed down during the pandemic. I mean, you switched to some streaming of some really great theater, new works, relevant works, and stuff like that. What are some of the things that people can expect during the 2022 season?
Well, thank you. Yeah, we feel very lucky that we didn't have to shut down. We didn't have to lay off any staff. We actually ended up hiring some folks, and I attribute that to being still young, to not having a building that we have overhead around, so we could put our COVID emergency funds into human beings and jobs, which just was such a blessing. So in our 13th season, which I have to say was put together by an expanded team of myself and Talia Kingston, WAM's Associate Artistic Director, Tatiana Godfrey, who is WAM's dramaturg, and Kate Alston, our artistic associate. The four of us spent over a year working together to come to this 2022 season. And we started with this idea of art of gathering, and what does the art of gathering look like? We were inspired by Priya Parker. We have a once-in-a-generation chance here post-pandemic to rethink the art of gathering. What if from our past do we want to bring forward, and what are new things that we want to establish? And with that, we wanted to center different versions of empowerment. We wanted to make sure that women were put center stage and that they were in control of their own lives and bodies at a time when that is obviously being put on. There are many backward steps around that, from so many women being out of work in the pandemic to all of the laws being passed across the country around women's decision to choose. And so that was really important to us, that we put women center stage and in control of their own lives and bodies. It was also in line with the art of gathering. It was really important to us to collaborate with art venues across the region. And so we're across all of the Berkshires. We have 3 readings that start our season. And the first reading is May 1st at Berkshire Museum of a play called The New Galileos by Amy Berryman. And I'm happy to talk more, obviously, about the actual plays. But the reading series will happen in 3 different locations across Berkshire County. And we're also partnering with some really incredible social justice organizations, Berkshire-based theater artists, to create these gathering spaces. So we have a reading series, then we're going to be doing this really fun, joyful thing called a Miscast Cabaret in the summer. And then we'll end with our main stage production in the fall of Cadillac Crew by Tori Sampson.
Yeah, it's kind of a diverse season. And one of the things I wanted to mention to people, the first reading is by Amy Berryman, and she wrote the play Walden, which was done outdoors on the Connecticut River in Windsor by TheatreWorks last year. She's a playwright that really is quite up and coming and worth taking very seriously. I thought Walden was one of the most beautiful plays I had seen, and it was not about Thoreau, and it wasn't about living on a lake and all of that, but she's really a terrific writer. So in this staged reading, is this a new play that she's working on or something you discovered that's in her catalog?
Well, interesting you mentioned Walden because we fell in love with that play also, and that's actually the play we wanted to do. But it's impossible to get the rights because it's going to have a really big production. And so we were not able to get the rights to that. But because, as you say, Amy's voice is so exciting, we started reading her other plays. And Talia came across the new Galileos, and it's so prescient, it's so resonant. You know, three female scientists, a marine biologist, a glaciologist, and a soil expert. They're all being held hostage by the government because of their work fighting climate change. And so for us, this idea of how much are we willing to sacrifice to defend the truth, this is a question so many of us are grappling with in many different personal and professional venues. And so to be able to explore the interaction of science and capitalism with this play by this very exciting playwright, being directed by an incredibly exciting director, Megan Sandberg-Zakian, whose mom was actually a molecular biologist. There's a lot of things that come together. And that's going to be in partnership with Flying Cloud Institute's Girls in Science program. So that's also a wonderful community engagement opportunity, chance for girls who are excited about science to come to this, to engage with our teaching artists around science and theater and art and capitalism. And, you know, all of our plays this year really explode with a lot of very relevant ideas. They center on relationships, but they offer new perspectives on how to interact with each other in the world, right? As we all come out of this pandemic and make conscious and thoughtful decisions about what we're bringing forward with us as we move forward in the world post-pandemic.
You mentioned the concept of gathering, and that's something that we all missed. I don't know how it was like for you during the pandemic, although I know that you took a family leave and were isolated up in Canada with your family while this season was being put together. But can the WAM people meet in person now to plan things? And what did it feel like for you to come back to WAM and be able to sit in a room with your colleagues or go to a theater production with other humans?
Well, Mark, to be honest, we haven't all sat in a room in person together yet. I did go and drive myself to a few of the staff members' homes and have meetings with them in person, which felt amazing, you know. But we haven't gathered as a full team, and for a few reasons. One, we are still concerned about COVID. Two, our team is a bit spread out. You know, we sort of live about an hour away from one another. Three, we don't have a gathering space in terms of an office at the moment. During the pandemic, we decided to go and work virtually, like many other organizations decided to do. And so we're actually just starting the process now of trying to find a large, bright, clean, accessible, flexible landing space for ourselves. And the final reason is because I think we've all really understood the requirement for employers to prioritize a flexible work schedule. We have some folks at work who are single moms, people who are elder caretakers, people who, you know, the gas prices are up. So having the option to work from home has been essential to caretaking our team and ensuring that they have the resources they need to be able to do their work. So we've put a lot of effort into having a dynamic virtual working relationship, and we use chat, and we have all kinds of fun tools that we use to help us feel like we're still together. And we do a lot of laughing together over Google Hangouts. And the first time we'll be together in person is actually going to be in a couple of weeks. So we are excited about that. And we are finding that there are many benefits to being able to continue to work remotely.
Do you like the idea that this year WAM is getting to perform readings in different venues up and down Berkshire County? Is that a challenge for you, or something that you all are really anticipating?
It's a yes and. I mean, of course, it's a challenge. You have different partners, different contacts, different communications with different places. You have to make sure the audience is clear on where they're going. But it's also very exciting. As you recall, when WAM started, we were very much a storefront kind of theater, going to different places. And the opportunity for us to go with these partnerships that we've been nurturing in the Berkshires for 13 years now, and collaborate together, WAM still, there are so many extraordinary spaces in the Berkshires. We don't have a necessity to have our own space. We would rather support the folks who have their own spaces and bring them in some income and some events and some collaboration. So it's a very much a yes and answer. Talia has a great relationship with the folks at the different places. Mass Mocha has been extraordinary about welcoming us there. It's our first time there. Berkshire Museum we've been to before, so we really enjoy that. And we've been to the Mount in Lenox before. So, I believe the most challenging thing will just be to make it clear to our audience where we are and where we're going. But because we're an itinerant theater and we have moved around a lot in the past, and many of our audience have been with us for many years, we're hopeful that there will be fewer bumps than there could be.
Exactly. We're going to take a little break to acknowledge our underwriters, and we'll be back to chat much more with Kristen van Ginhoven from WAM Theater. But before we take that break, Kristen, how can people find out about the WAM season? I know you're on Facebook and you have a website. Where's everything posted these days?
I recommend that folks go to wamtheater.com, which is WAMTheatre.com. And right on the homepage, there's a big graphic that talks about our new season, and folks can click that and learn everything about it.
And they can also learn, WAM Theater does something special. And every production, they give a percentage of their box office to a local community service organization, and some national ones as well, that provide services to women and children. So take a look on their website also to see some of the organizations that WAM has funded as a community player. And we're going to take that break. Peter Coles is our chief engineer. I'm Mark Auerbach. You're either watching us on Westville Community Programming Channel 15, listening to us on 89.5 FM WSKB. And if you've missed a part of today's program, want to share it with friends or watch it again, we're on YouTube's community, WSKB Community Radio's YouTube page. Don't go away.
Underwriting for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield, serving the youth of the Whip City and surrounding communities since 1969. For more information on the Great Futures Club for ages 3 to 5, happening weekdays, and the Club Teen Center for ages 11 and older, weekdays from 6:30 till 8 p.m., go online at bcgwestfield.org or visit the club at 28 West Silver Street. The Boys and Girls Club of Greater Westfield. Great futures start here. Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Join me, Tina Gorman, each week from 6 to 8 a.m. for Wake Up Wednesday, when my guests and I discuss health, wellness, and lifestyle reimagined.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM WSKB Westfield.
Welcome back to Artsbeat, everyone. I'm Mark Auerbach. Peter Coles is our chief engineer, and we're getting to spend a half hour this morning with Kristen Van Ginhoven, who's the co-founder and the artistic director and the force behind WAM Theater, which is performing throughout the Berkshires almost year-round now, presenting plays about and for women and children. The plays run the gamut from some classics to new works, from staged readings to a musical cabaret this summer to a fully staged production in the fall. All of the information is at whamtheater.com, so you can check that out or find them on Facebook. For some reason, every morning when I sign on, WAM is on my Facebook feed, Kristen.
Oh, Gail Burns is a rock star. You know, Gail Burns, as who you know, is our social media person. And she just does such a great job with regular posts and these empowering, inspiring posts about women around the world, you know, turning oppression into opportunity. So, yeah, we do feel like folks turn to us for some good news about women's issues, which is lovely. So, yeah, Gail does an extraordinary job.
Some people say to me, well, WAM Theater was the first theater around to really produce plays for women, about women and children, for women and children, and that other theaters are now starting to, quote, catch up. And I remember last year, or maybe the year before, Hartford Stage appointed its first woman artistic director, and other theaters around the country are. But you're kind of groundbreaking in that regard. But yet you've been able to produce plays that a variety of audiences can participate in and enjoy. Do you feel that you're the role model for other theaters, or do you feel that you were just doing the right thing at the right time and other theaters are just catching up?
Wow, Mark. My love language is words of affirmation, so thank you. You've nourished me immensely with this question. Well, you know, I don't see us as a groundbreaker or a role model. I do think of us as part of a much larger movement that was started before us, and us standing on the shoulders of other folks who have been focused on women's issues for generations. I think we are the first theater in our area to have such a specific activist focused around women and girls and gender equity. I would like to think that that has had a bit of an influence on the season selection of other theaters in our area. I don't think data supports that view, because I think the data still shows in our area and nationally, unfortunately, that plays written by people who identify as women are still, I believe it's less than 25% of all plays produced. So, you know, there's still definitely not equity around that. I do hope it makes people think about it. On the other hand, we're doing, you know, what we're passionate about as our little contribution to the much larger area of gender equity. And our hope is that we can create opportunity, and that influences other folks to create opportunity. I do think when other theaters put on plays that are written by women, no one goes, you know, thinks differently about it. They just go and attend the show and enjoy it or don't, right? And it's but because our mission is so specifically around that, people do look at us differently, and our audience is still predominantly people who identify as women. Although I will say, for our fall production last year of Kamloopa, it was the first time that our audience demographics were pretty much equal across age and gender, with a lot of diversity across race and you know, so that felt very exciting and in line with where WAM wants to go. I also, a little tidbit, that Melia Ben-Susan, the new artistic director at Hartford Stage, was my mentor at Emerson College for my master's program. So it was really fun one day when her and I were side by side in the Berkshire Eagle announcing our seasons or something. There was some reason why we were side by side, and it was really lovely. So she continues to be a mentor to me, and it is very exciting that not only is she a woman heading that organization, but she's an older woman. And that is unfortunately, still she's the exception and not the rule. I think we all have to be careful about thinking things have really changed when in fact there is still so much disparity around women who are getting produced in the theater.
Yeah, I agree, but we kind of have a false sense of security in Western Massachusetts because all of the major arts organizations are either managed or artistically directed by women. And so when you leave Western Mass and you go to other communities in other cities, it's not necessarily the case. And
Right.
I often, people will say to me, well, gee, how do these theater companies succeed and how are they coping and all that? And I said, well, it's sort of like business as usual here. I don't feel that in our neck of the woods there are some of the issues that are being faced by theater companies in other parts of the country in terms of gender equity and inclusion. We all have a lot of work to do, but we've already done a lot of the work, and I think that people in other communities could certainly look to us as role models for what the
Yeah, I
work
don't
that we're
know. I
trying to
feel
do.
like, yeah, I feel like I would, I don't know. My experience is somewhat different. I think to some degree what you say is certainly correct. I do think that often women have to be founders in order to achieve leadership positions, which of course is the case for a few of the theaters here in the Berkshires. They were founded by women. And I would also say that some of your colleagues, Chris Roman, Gail Burns, and others have collected data over the years, and regardless of the fact that women are heading these organizations, there still is a very low percentage of plays that are written or artistically guided by women that are included in the seasons. It's not 50-50. I think we have a false idea that because women are leading these organizations or founded these organizations, that they are uplifting and affirming and promoting and sponsoring, equal numbers of women at their theaters. Unfortunately, it's not the case, and this is something that we talk about as well. I think the statistics are changing, obviously, across race and gender. But the plays in the Berkshires that are produced every summer are still predominantly guided by folks who identify as white males.
Yeah. With streaming and some of the opportunities that WAM has had by circumstance in the last year or so with the pandemic, have you reached a wider audience of people through streaming that would never have had the chance to come to the Berkshires?
I think we all have, right? I think all the arts organizations who experimented and dipped their toe into streaming have had that experience. And also, accessibility in terms of ability to get to the theater, whether it's location, whether it's physical ability, whether it's family obligations, the ability to offer streaming at flexible times. I mean, we've all appreciated that when we have Zoom meetings that are recorded that we can watch on our own time. And we also have appreciated it when there are events that we can watch. I mean, I talk to people, and you've probably been able to do this, who are able to watch, symphonic orchestras from around the world over Zoom, or theater productions they would never be able to see, or tour virtual art exhibits, at really famous art museums in Europe or Africa or South America. So I think this is here to stay. We've all, it's the next step, and it's really about can we keep it sustainable for arts organizations to do that? We all pivoted really quickly and had different levels of success artistically, technologically, but I believe all of us are continuing to offer some things in our season virtually, whether it's a live stream or whether it's a recording, because, so many more folks have had accessibility to our programming.
And I think some of the plays that you streamed, Roe v. Wade, which you streamed and you planned to stream, and it was produced for streaming, was really high quality at that point in the pandemic when people really hadn't mastered putting theater on through a streaming thing. I was just amazed at how everything from the actors interacting through a streaming mode to the fact that Juliana von Hobrick's set designs worked so well for streaming, and she imagined it that way. That was a powerhouse for you guys.
Well, thank you. And huge shout out does go to Juliana and to Outpost Productions. Their passion and creativity and problem solving really is what made that what it is. I am not somebody who was really excited about the virtual creative arena, but Juliana is incredibly excited and is such a consummate artist and imaginative artist that what she envisioned um, was so cool. And then to have Outpost Productions working with us on it, they are such extraordinary filmmakers, and they were able to work with us on, making things look like they made sense and just get creative with it. So we were very proud of it, and it certainly was a fun exploration to have actors sort of looking into space, knowing that when it was edited together, they would be quote unquote looking at one another. So it was an interesting experiment. And major shout out to Juliana and Eaton and Erica and George at Outpost Productions, because it's the four of them that really brought it all together with their passion, creativity, and excitement.
You had the opportunity to direct and the Holland Taylor play about the Texas governor and Richard Snett went on to Arena Stage in Washington, D.C. and Dallas, and kind of put a different stamp, gave WAM a different opportunity to show its talents outside of the Berkshires. Do you have any opportunities or plans in the near future to, as they say, take WAM's show on the road?
There's nothing in terms on that scale at the moment. We continue to talk with different theaters that are closer to us about possible co-productions, possible collaborations that we could do. We have been so focused on just making it through the pandemic and finding our feet again with producing live. So we'll see when the next Anne shows up. It was certainly an exciting pre-pandemic year. It feels like a dream, and it feels so long ago that happened. And so we'll put it in the universe for that to happen for us again.
Well, I can't wait to catch some of the readings this summer, and certainly your fall production. And regrettably, we're out of time, but we've had this wonderful opportunity to chat with Kristen Van Ginhoven from WAM Theater. Go look at their website, wamtheater.org, and check out all of the readings, and there's a cabaret performance this summer and all of that. So, Kristen, thanks for being here, and best wishes for a great season.
Thank you, and thank you for always being so supportive and enthusiastic about our work, Mark.
Well, I am enthusiastic about your work, and I can't wait till we can gather in person because we're overdue.
Yes, look forward to it.
And that wraps up another edition of Artsbeat. Peter Coles has been our chief engineer this morning. We've been broadcasting from Studio 120. We'll see you next week with another edition of Artsbeat. If you missed a part of today's program, want to catch it again or share it with folks, it's on YouTube at WSKB Community Radio. See you next Friday here on Artsbeat.
I know your eyes by heart, that look of half surprise, so innocent, so wise. I know that smile by heart, I know your smile by heart. And when it's this naive, there's something up your sleeve. I know that smile by heart. You're lean, you're lithe, you're delightfully blithe, disgracefully full of grace. So clean, so neat, so deceitfully sweet is every feature of your face. And what's more, I know your heart by heart. It's light as a feather, tougher than leather. So I'll go on wondering whether we should be together or apart. I'm drawn to you, but I'm on to you. I know your heart by that cheating heart by. I know your heart by heart. I know your eyes by heart.
Just follow me, my dear.
So innocent, so wise. I know those eyes by heart.
Don't think, just follow me.
this naive. There's something up your sleeve. I know that smile by heart.
Don't worry, just follow me and follow me.
You're lean, you're lithe, you're delightfully blithe, disgracefully full of grace. So clean, so neat, so deceitfully sweet.
So high in the sky
is every feature of